For this persuasive speech, I will be talking to you about bullied teens that leads to suicide. Why do young teens die because of bullying? Steps on how to stop and notice the bullying before it gets too late. Have people realized on how bullying can affect someone to commit suicide? Well, this has a lot of answers to it. It's a yes, no, or maybe so. Bullying can cause suicide in teens at any time of the year, no matter what day it is, what time. It don't matter when or where this teen is, it can still cause suicide of bullying in teens every day in the U.S. Do teens commit suicide because of bullying? Well, yes, they do. Because they're pressured into it, they don't have nobody to talk to, and nobody would listen to them. They can talk to parents, family, or friends, or teachers, or peer leaders, or whoever, and still they are on the urge of thinking to commit suicide, or they will commit suicide because they don't think nobody cares, nobody listens. And some of this has happened to teens that have committed suicide in the U.S. Committing suicide in teens is a high risk in the U.S. because of the bullying that happens to the teen. Bullying of young teens. In Kentucky, bullying among suicide is one of the most best ranks of being controlled. Now, of the U.S. compared to Kentucky, of other states in the U.S., there are more than 160,000 children that miss school every day because of being bullied in schools. This is because they are sick every day, they're afraid to go back, they think they're going to get bullied, they're going to get just afraid just to go back and be around people. They just want to be somewhere by themselves and not have to deal with this. Teens who are bullied become more of being afraid and constantly being traumatized. And then committing the suicide because of not being able to deal with being bullied by themselves is hard for them to deal with because they gotta deal with it by themselves if they're not around nobody that can talk to them, or they're afraid to tell someone of where they're acting or what's going on with them, and they're just afraid of telling somebody, so this leads to having bullying of suicide in their life. Suicide of teens. Suicide in adolescence has been the talk of the news. Most suicide are in 15 to 34 years, is the second cause of death in Kentucky. Now that's a lot of second cause of suicide death in Kentucky because there's more to killings and everything else, but the second most ranked of Kentucky of suicide is the death that prevents from children from 15 to 34 years old. This is the second worst part of it, and it's not getting any better. It is in some way, but some of it in Kentucky is not getting better. This is from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, of who said this is true of our state here in Kentucky. Having a suicide month helps people realize that teens do matter in the U.S. and the teens and children should not have to suffer being bullied and that leading to suicide. This should not have to happen for teens being suicidal, wanting to think of committing suicide or anything. This should not happen in the U.S. and here in Kentucky or anywhere in America. Prevention of Suicide Month is one of the biggest months of the year for teens that are being bullied or whoever that's getting bullied can come together, talk about their problems and situations before it gets too late of them committing suicide in their life. And losing a loved one is most horrible thing to come by, especially losing a teen that's been bullied to becoming more of having a suicidal thought. Suicide prevention is to stand down and say no more to bullying that can cause suicide. Kentucky has a suicide prevention month in October. This contains of telling people how bullied teens think of committing suicide. Risk factors that cause the thinking that way and the mental health on how to see the signs when teens go into that stage of being bullied and wanting to control suicide. This prevention has just happened here this recently, here in October 2015. This is every year, and this has worked for a whole bunch of young teens that just felt like they couldn't do it anymore. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope this helps with more people to step up and say no more bullying to suicide. Thanks.